We are back because it's Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. IST, and as usual, I'm very excited on Tuesday evenings, and so is Shalini because we are able to discuss our favorite subjects with all of you. Welcome,
Hi,
Shalini.
PR. Welcome. Hi, Prigya. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm fine. I hope everyone listening and you as well are having a good week so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's on our table for today?
So today we are going to discuss again, which is a very interesting topics, but not a straightforward straight jacket formula in intellectual property. So perfumes and intellectual property, can we have some intellectual property on perfume, and what is the right intellectual property? I know, like, this is also a dicey situation where we need to figure out what type of intellectual property would be applicable, and that would probably depend on a case to case basis. So yeah, very interesting topic, and I invite you for the opening remarks.
Opening remark is I need to buy myself some new perfume. Do you have any recommendations?
Probably I'll give you after we complete the recording, because we cannot promote any brand here.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so IPR wise, yes and no.
Yeah.
There are just like any other commodity. We can have trademark protection, we can have patent protection, we can have trade secret protection, we can have copyright protection. The fine print is that depends on which country you are talking to.
Yeah.
Right? So every country has its own take on perfumes, and we'll discuss a sprinkling of those, or should I say a spritz of those,
Correct.
in the course of our chat today. But I find it very interesting because one is because all of us use some sort of a spray slash perfume. The other is that there was a case judgment that came out by the European courts
Yeah.
when I was in law college. So I was fascinated with it, and I had done a presentation on it. And so I thought, let's go and revisit that topic and see what's new in that field. So that's my opening remarks.
Wow, amazing, Shalini. As you mentioned, there can be a variety of IP involved in it, and especially it's very interesting to see because each country treats it very differently. And yeah, probably let's start. What we can do is probably discuss one IP at a time and see how
Yes.
perfumes fit in that IP. So let's
Sure.
start with the patents.
Trade patents. Okay. Yes. So what's your thoughts on it?
So patent, see, patent, the subject matter of a patent is a product or a process. So either we can get it on a product or a process. So regarding perfumes, if you are actually very clear regarding the chemical compositions or the chemical formula, then probably we can get it as a composition or a process of manufacturing if the process of manufacturing is new and inventive. On the other side, if it is a combination of existing thing, then maybe it can be objected under a mere combination of existing substance without showing any therapeutic effect. So that can be a challenge. Still, if it is a new chemical composition where we are able to show that okay, it's not copied, it's not uh, existing anywhere in the world, and this is the inventive step, because the challenge is, I think, we have to show the technical advancement. So probably if we show a technical advancement in the composition or the process of manufacturing perfume, then probably we can get a patent. But if we are not able to show these elements, it's gonna be very difficult.
Absolutely brilliantly put. And and yes, of course, you have to go back to whichever country you're looking at.
Yeah.
You look at what your patentability requirements are, and hold up your perfume product or process against those laws and see if it passes the test or not.
Correct.
The next IP would be trademark. That's fairly obvious, right? You
Yeah.
have a you have a name and you want to trademark it. So that's definitely can be done.
Yeah, I think that is very straightforward in, and also probably in the sense like, okay, we can trademark the brand name. We can also trademark probably the shape of the bottle or the logo.
Mhm.
There are a variety of trademarks associated with the perfume and its packaging.
Packaging.
One peculiar thing is that certain kinds of smells or fragrances are subject matter of trademark when it comes to association of brand. Okay, I smell something and I associate it with the brand name. For example,
Okay.
grass smell of a Costco ball.
Hmm.
So that is, like we discussed in the last session, it is unconventional or non-traditional trademarks. So probably if there is a smell and I can just relate it to a brand name, that can also be a trademark.
Yes, but generally the smell in a perfume is associated with something,
Correct.
and that becomes designative of indicative of of the source.
Yeah.
So if it has an orange citrusy fragrance, then you know this linked to orange or lemon or lime. You
Correct.
know jasmine is jasmine, rose is rose, and so you cannot, in my opinion, cannot trademark those fragrances.
Absolutely. So I agree with you to the extent that probably if we are trademarking orange with the orange, we cannot do it. If we are trademarking grass with the grass, we cannot do it. So there has to be an element which is very different. For example, green grass for a ball.
Yes.
So it has to be that different for the
Hmm.
purpose of getting a.
Right. So the perfume itself cannot be
Yeah,
trademarked. The
correct,
smell
correct.
cannot be trademarked because even though it can be graphically represented in writing,
Hmm.
it still becomes indicative of goods and services of
Correct.
the source.
So probably if I trademark rose smell with a brand name, for example, brand name such as, let me say, for example, just Apple starts manufacturing perfume. So
Hmm.
rose smell of Apple, that can be, probably can be like, it has to
Rose-
be that absurd.
But a perfume, no, I still think that the perfume fragrance itself, because then it becomes that the perfume rose is one of the ingredients in that perfume.
Yeah.
And so you cannot have a rose smell for a rose perfume trademark.
So we'll not file it for a rose perfume. We'll file it for a brand.
Okay. I don't know.
Like,
And for a perfume, and if the brand is for a perfume, if the brand is for electronics, sure, go ahead.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the brand is for perfume, I doubt it.
Yeah, probably, yeah. That is a dicey situation.
Well, anybody listening to us wants to be the guinea pig for this, please let us know.
Yeah,
Then what else was trade secret? How
trade
about
secret,
trade secret?
definitely. Trade
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 secret?
trade secret, definitely. If we have the composition as a secret, we haven't disclosed it to anybody, and we have taken measures to keep that information as secret, then the composition or the process of manufacturing of perfume, or what, to the extent we have kept that as a secret, that can be protected.
Sure. Yes. Right. Then that leaves us with copyrights.
Interesting one. The interesting one.
So one way I could argue is that when I'm making a perfume, I'm an artist and it's a work of art, so I should get copyright protection. What's your take on this?
So my take on this is, I agree it's an artwork, but as I said, uh, as you also mentioned, that places treat it very differently. For example, there is a country which has recognized perfume as an artwork because of its originality, because it is original creation of somebody's. That's why we can get a copyright on it. On the other hand, there are jurisdictions which say bi- perfumes cannot be treated as artwork.
Hmm.
So and we have to pass this test of originality. That is some another thing, but first is the subject matter and then is the test. If both are acceptable, we can get a copyright, but if any of the two is not acceptable, then we cannot get a copyright.
What does the Indian code say about?
So I think we are yet to determine, because Indian act says literary, artistic, musical,
Dramatic?
dramatic, and software programs. So these are the subject matter which can be copyrighted. So it cannot fall under literary, dramatic, musical program, or musical or computer program. But the artistic work is the playground for a lawyer to say, okay, perfume is also an artwork. So whether we can establish that perfume is an artwork or not, that is the game.
So the French court in 2006 held that people who make perfumes are not artists; they are mere worksmen,
Hmm.
like a plumber or a carpenter, and therefore, copyright the perfume is not a subject matter for copyright.
Hmm.
So I don't know. So okay, so so they found that perfumes are not eligible for copyright. However, the Dutch court in the same matter found that perfumes can be copied.
Yeah,
Yeah, because perfume is made with a recipe, and the recipe has to be it has to be perceived because it has to be able to smell it, and it has to be original. So the court said that just like you have a recipe for some food preparation that can be copyrighted, the smell of a perfume, the recipe for the smell of a perfume can be copyrighted, even though it's only perceptible or it can be only felt through the
correct.
olfactory senses, through the nose. So the Dutch court went on to uh, talk about the difference between the fragrance of a perfume from a recipe, or uh, should I copyright the fragrance, or should I copyright the liquid itself?
Correct.
So now that then so for me that is the same as saying, should I protect the book, a book that is written, or should I talk about the papers of the book?
Hmm.
So it is actually the content of the what is written, right? I
Yeah,
could then make it into an audio book or an e-book, and it is still protected. So it's not the liquid, in my opinion, it is the fragrance in the liquid. So you can use different. So that means you can use different ingredients, but you can come up with the same smell. Then you're infringing.
correct.
So ultimately, that's what needs to be protected because this is liquid, that is liquid. There's no difference.
Yeah,
Let's say I use ingredients A, B, C to get a particular smell, and you used ingredients A, B, and S and came up with the same smell, then you should be found infringing because this is a work of art.
yeah. Shalini, here I'll bring in one more requirement, because with copyright we have a requirement that the work has to be converted in certain form. For example, the painting, till it is there in my mind, it cannot be copyrighted unless I make it. Similarly with the literature, unless the poem is in my mind, I cannot write it unless I put it in words in on a paper. So can liquid be treated as a form?
Not liquid. That's what, not the liquid. It is a fragrance. So just how you can perceive with your eyes,
Hmm.
and you can perceive. We have a touch also, right?
Yeah,
That's the trademark. So if I can have four senses, why
yeah,
can't I have a fifth sense also recognized as a valid sense for detecting something?
Definitely, probably we'll have a case in India very soon regarding copyrightability of perfumes.
There should be, or at least there should be a discussion on
Correct. And I think here it would be appropriate to discuss the design as well, because shape of
it.
the bottles are subject matter of design, and some perfume brands have, very catchy kind of bottles. Like you just fall in love with the bottle and you'll be like, okay, I want to buy this perfume.
Yes.
So
Yes.
not perfume as a
Design.
substance, but
Yes.
as a design.
Yes. So that the container can be trademarked as well as you can get an design protection.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think we covered most of the aspects.
There aren't um, too many publications or
Yeah,
discussions around this topic.
yeah,
So it's good that we're talking about it because then at least people know that even something as um, luxurious or decadent as perfume
yeah.
can is subject matter of intellectual property.
I think everything which is existing, like which we can perceive through our five senses, are subject matter of intellectual property, because they were created in somebody's mind first and then only they came into existence. So anything, any product, any process around us was or is a subject matter of intellectual property.
Yes, well put.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to put an invite out to those listening. If you're listening, and if there is some other obscure um, thing on your agenda that you want to learn about the intellectual property rights related to that, it could be your. I have this pretty coaster with
Yeah.
with Vardy art on it. Do you
Wow.
see it?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes. So it could be a coaster, it could be a perfume, it could be a
Anything
pen, anything. If you want us to talk about the IP related to it, drop us a line.
perfect. So with this, we'll end today and we'll be back next Tuesday, same time, and we'll have a discussion around some interesting intellectual property.
Always.
Yeah. Bye bye. Take care.